Yes, lovely.
Hmm.
Well, I'm very excited today. I got Chris Nunan here with me. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
So lovely to have you here today.
Oh, thank you.
Chris has had, before actually he came across the three principles understanding, he had an experience where, in a really difficult health situation with life-threatening extent, really, he came to see where true healing really comes from. And he's willing to share his story with us here today. And so I would like to ask you, Chris, to tell us what happened.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. So what happened? It's really sometimes life just something unexpected happens, and sometimes the worst thing that you could experience happens. And I had this experience in 2009 before I met the principals. I was sitting at home, and all of a sudden I'm saying to my wife, you know, I have these spots on my skin. What's going on? And she said, well, that's strange. And 20 minutes later, it was not only spots, it was kind of, my skin was turning kind of red, a strange purple color. And I said, well, I don't know what this is, but something's really wrong. And she said, well, we'll have to take you to the emergency ward. So I got in there, and the doctor looked at me and stood up, took his phone and called the hospital. So I went straight into the emergency ward and had you know, tubes, and they started giving me blood transfusions and all kinds of stuff. Very fast. And I was told that this was dangerous. And I realized there was something going on that I could die of, because everything was bleeding. You know, I had blood out of my mouth and my nose, and and it was it's very surreal to have that kind of experience, because in a way I'm just, you know, as if what's going on, all these people, doctors and nurses, and you know, the worry in people's faces. And so so they gave me these blue blood transfusions, and they kept on doing it, but nothing worked. So what was happening was that my immune defense had attacked my blood pellets. That was what they found out, that my body was actually attacking itself.
Wow.
And very, very fiercely. And I think there's no way of exactly knowing this, but I think it was a reaction to penicillin. I had some penicillin the week before.
Okay.
So the immune defense somehow or another got it wrong. Instead of fighting the germs, it started fighting myself. So at this point, I'm very much into this shock state, and I come into the ward I get into is a ward for cancer patients, and that's people are kind of between life and death at that kind of ward, and also people I met there who died while I was there. So there's this. It's a very strange place, and they gave me a lot of medicine to kind of kill my immune defense. And at one point, I was moved into a single room, and here's what happened. I switched on the television. There's a television in there on the wall, and they're showing a Chinese splatter movie with heads and knives and daggers and blood all over the place. And I just thought, well, God has humor. That was my thought. God has humor. This is ridiculous, you know. It's in a soap opera. And then I had this kind of dialogue with myself. I thought, well, if I'm going to die, because I felt like I was going to die, then I just thought, well, I had lovely kids and a lovely wife and a good life. And then I thought, well, if that's what's going to happen, let it be. That's okay. And this is the strange part, of the miracle part, because at the same, just after I had that thought, I let go. You know, I surrendered totally to the experience. And then I had this feeling of love coming up through my body. It was like a fountain of love inside. And I had this feeling that this dark room became more like a light room. And I started feeling very, very good. I started feeling, wow, this is, you know, like being bathed in love and grace and serenity. And I went quite quiet inside. And then the doctor came in, and I looked at the doctor, and I saw the most beautiful person in the whole world. And I looked at the nurse, and she was beautiful too. And later that day, everyone was beautiful, everyone was nice, and all these people with terrible illnesses, and everyone, I just felt love. As you know, I was joking about it. Was it kind of like was it the drug, or it wasn't? It was just feeling of embracing the whole world, and that's you know, it's a bit strange in a way, because my situation wasn't that good. And I hated this, you know, the blood coming out of me, and I felt it was choking me. But even though I had this terrible experience, I was just feeling love. I was feeling really like, so my fear of death disappeared. I was like, this is ridiculous. I've been a hypochondriac all my life.
Oh, really?
Anything could be, you know, an illness, or I could read you know, I study psychology, so when I read about diagnosis, I would have the diagnosis, and you know, and now I was in the middle of this total crazy crisis, and I just felt peace. It was really, really as if my ego just disappeared out of this equation, and and you know, something very much different happened. And this lasted maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like this. I had this experience, and then it started fading. But I got into Qigong. I got into working more with health. I would have these messages come to me from the inside. For example, all of a sudden I had this, you know, voice in me. It wasn't a voice, but something telling me that, you know, drink green tea. And I don't like green tea, but I had to get it. You know, to my wife, we'll have to bring some green tea. I have to drink green tea. I said, something in me was telling me what to do. And I had an email about some Qigong. You know, and I said to my wife, this is the Qigong. I'm going to do this. I'm going to teach this. I don't know why, but it's just the feeling. I feel this is what I have to do. And we had to go to, you know, that was after I got out of hospital, and they'd given me a lot of medicine. I just had this feeling I had to do some of these things. And so, of course, when I read about the pre-principles, read Michael Neal's book, and then I read Jamie Smart's book, and wonderful books, and I just said, yeah, I know that. That's how it is. You know, I was so happy to see someone kind of say it very clearly what this is. Yeah. So even though I'm not in that state all the time, I just have this this feeling that I don't have this hang up on death. I used to be afraid of death. It's gone. And I also noticed that when I came home from hospital, I looked out in our garden and I saw we had birds. And I said, oh, the garden's full of birds. And my wife said, yeah, of course it's full of birds. But she wasn't seeing what I was seeing. I was seeing all these heavenly beauty creatures that surround us, that we're just, you know, we're just not aware that heaven is just outside, you know, just look, you know, it's there. And I saw these beauties, and I got so fascinated and fell in love with nature and started photography. You know, I said, I'm going to go out every day. I'll go out and take a picture of heaven in my backyard.
I often see your pictures, and I love them because they reflect the feeling you have, and that's quite amazing because they are just photographs, but they seem to carry that feeling, and that's very, very lovely. But
thank you.
What I'm curious about, what I hear you say is that with learning about the principles, for you, then suddenly all this experience started to make sense because you got the explanation of why that was possible and what actually happened to you and why you fell out of a crisis into this beauty. And it sort of describes why this, it's like what we call the natural default setting, isn't it? You fell out of yourself.
Yeah.
And you fell into what we really are.
Yeah.
And I would just like to hear a little bit more about what happened to your body in that time and how you recovered and how you felt that was happening. Was that something you did consciously, or was it just something that was coming from nature itself?
Well, I as I said, I got into this Qigong. It's called, it was called Enlightenment Qigong or Wu Qigong. It's like working with emptiness. It's opening for your soul and your spirit. So it's kind of similar. It's working to get you into contact with your source, basically. So I started making these slow movements and trying to do these exercises, which also have a spiritual nature. And for me, that was a way of regaining this the feeling of, you know, this good feeling inside. Even though my body was very, very tired, you know, I had some camera equipment and I couldn't, you know, it was too heavy to carry it. Everything was too much or too heavy. I was so tired. But just doing a little bit of these exercises and trying just to be neutral and get out of my head, so to speak, started helping me. It's like I just found out I needed to be let go of this thinking, this worrying thinking that I also had, and I could see the results from. I had to go to have blood tests taken all the time, you know, twice a week at one point, and I could see that something good was happening with me. I could see that I was getting better, and my body started regaining its kind of, you know, they killed off my immune defense through medicine, and then you slowly go off the medicine, and it's terrible because you have this feeling that the medicine is giving you something, but when you get out of the medicine, you really feel how you feel. You know, you really feel this immense tiredness. I was so tired that I had this feeling I could lie down on the floor and never get up. It was extreme, but slowly, you know, one day at a time, I regained it by using the Qigong and by going into nature, you know, basically watching the birds. So it just happened. I can't give you a method. It's more like something in my awareness was shifted. So I don't know how I knew, but I knew this was working. I knew it would work. I couldn't, you know, it's just something in me told me this was the way to do it.
So it was like your own instinct that was pointing you towards the source where all life comes from.
Yeah, I think so.
And you didn't have to do anything, and this is very important because, you know, in my own history of health issues and when I've managed to get through things really easily was always when I completely got out of the way. And like you said, as you know, you surrendered to life. Okay, this is what it is, and you sort of gave up. And that's very similar to my experiences.
Okay.
When I sailed through health issues, it was always when I really had the faith, without doing anything, without trying to believe into something or think positive thoughts or something. But no, it was like just giving myself to life, because life does the whole healing for us.
Yeah.
And it's something that cannot be done, but which happens, and which the only thing that really helps is to have the faith, is to know that this is the way it works.
I like the word know. It's like a knowing. So because it's not an intellectual thing. You just know. And that's, yeah. I think at the time, I think also the Qigong was good for me. Of course, that's doing something, but I wasn't really like, now I'm going to fix this and this. It was more like getting into a relaxed state.
Yes, and you heard your inner voice there of what it was suggesting. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like we all carry our own wisdom to do that. Once we get access to that, it's guiding us through what we have to do. Because
very much.
Yeah. The doing doesn't come from our conscious decisions. It comes from an inspiration that's rooted much deeper in this intelligence behind life that we're all connected to. And that's what blows me away.
Yeah.
That in your story, that just blows me away, because you didn't have any idea of that. You weren't looking for it, and nonetheless, that was what's happening.
Exactly.
That was what was guiding you through, you know, and out of this health situation back into life.
Yeah, you have to let go. You can't, you know, it's not done by trying to fight your way through. It's really letting go. That was my experience. May I tell a joke?
Yeah, go on.
You know, I have seen this. This is a cartoon, so I haven't really found it, but there is a joke where you see Froggy from the Muppet Show. He's at the doctor's, and the doctor has taken an X-ray of Froggy, and you see the doctor is looking at the X-ray picture where you can see that inside of Froggy there is a hand. But Froggy doesn't know this. Froggy doesn't know this, so this doctor is telling him, well, I have something I want to tell you. I need to tell you. and when you when you look at this, you know that Froggy, he's going to get a shock, because there's actually something driving him that he doesn't know of. He's a puppet. He's a puppet, you know.
Yeah, we are not in charge. We're not in charge.
No, but we think we are.
Yes, well, that's a brilliant metaphor. We think we are the puppet, and we are in charge, and we make the decisions and that, but we are lived by life. Life's the driver.
Yeah.
Life is the hand in the puppet and playing the frog.
Yeah. So that's what I think. I just thought of this metaphor because I knew we were going to have this meeting, and it popped up. And I just said, well, that's a brilliant picture of it, because I just had a false idea of who I was. You know, I thought that there was, you know, that I was doing life. I thought that and then this happened. You know, I was in this hospital and almost dying. So I just had to give up. I just had, this is not, you know, something else is going on, and I'll just have to go with the ride. And what a relief! What a relief! It's much bigger than I am, and it's good. It feels good, and I think I've had this fear of death all my life, and I don't have this. You know, of course I can have a fearful of pain, but it's not like. And reading these things, started working with the principles. I've been to different seminars, and it's just opening more and more up. I just 2 days ago, I was place where I live, quite near here, I was out walking, and this group, 12 Arabs or Palestinians or what they are, people coming towards me, young guys with big muscles and tattoos, and I know that before this, I would have, had this thinking very fast. I would start, how do I get out of here? What if something happens? Could they do something, steal my money, or because that's the kind of energy I would have been into at the time. And what I'm experiencing now, I see these people, and I look at them, and I smile and say hello, and they smile and say hello, and then they go on. And I just had this feeling that I was looking at the manifestation of spirit. Somehow it wasn't. It's like it's an empty. It's not like what we say things are, or what we say who we are, or this group is like this, or this group is like this, or it's more like it's just life meeting life. Or I didn't have an opinion. And that's really nice because it's much easier. Life is very much easier without all this thinking, opinionated thinking. And I guess that's the same with health in a way, because I think we tend to, if we get stressed, for example, we tend to create these scenarios. And then have a problem with it, because we're not really knowing, and we're not understanding the nature of emptiness.
Can you explain a bit more about that? That's lovely.
It's like when I'm talking to you, Katja, of course I'm talking to you, but I also feel something else is going on, like I'm connecting to something else connecting. And I have to use the words and the metaphors and thinking, of course, but I have a feeling that there's something more to it. It's very nice. I don't have to make things up. I don't have to prepare myself. I don't even know what I'm going to say, and that's okay, because I just have to trust that whatever comes is okay. Does that give meaning?
Yes, and I was just curious. We call this call understanding what finding yourself really means.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering whether because you just sort of started to speak about the nature of our true self, and I know it's really difficult to speak about it because it slips through our fingers, because it's just something we can't get our head around, but it carries this knowing feeling which comes with peace and love and all the beautiful things that we all want, and that's who we truly are. So I was just wondering how your take on that is, and whether you would like to point people towards that, because all of us, it doesn't matter what culture we come from, what color we have, what color skin we have, we all have the same nature deep inside.
Yeah, of course. We're absolutely the same, everyone. But I can only say sometimes it's in talks or in humor, like Froggy, the Froggy story with the doctor looking at the X-ray. And I've got something important to tell you. So in a way, it's my intellect can't grasp it. But sometimes when there's a really good joke, or there's a paradox, like a Sen koan, a riddle, or sometimes you just your normal thinking kind of stops. And you say, oh yeah, I know what that means. And then you try to explain it to someone, and then it gets, it can become difficult. But it's in the silence, and it's just in the knowing, and it's a little bit like an artist, or maybe when I'm taking pictures sometimes, not always, but sometimes I just I had this feeling that I almost know, I feel as if I know this picture just jumps at me, and I have this feeling that there's some holy moment, like some moment where there is no time, where there is no normal way of looking at things, and it just everything kind of fits together. This feeling, and when that happens, you're pretty sure that that's it. Yeah, and but explaining it is I think we need to express our. I need to express my. I'm so grateful that I need to express this, but I can also listen to my own words sometimes and say, what's going on? This was not, trying to say it, but it's in the beauty. It's in the beauty, and it's just there. As I was saying, I saw the birds in the garden, and now they're definitely there. They also were there before I saw them, but my thinking wasn't. I had too much thinking going on, clogging my perception.
I can so relate to that, because even in daily life, when I think back, that I now see things much more in detail and notice things, while before I was always in my head, and it was like as if I don't see anything because I was so busy in my mind.
Okay.
That I couldn't really take other things in. Now that lots of thinking just fell away, and I got more peace and quiet in my mind, and suddenly it's like I've opened my eyes and I see many more things. I can so relate to that. And what I find beautiful, I find it really beautiful that you feel you can't really talk about it, but it's the feeling that you radiate while trying to point towards that is that so rich, and which shows that it's within, it's inside. That's our it's before we create any reference points, any opinions, any judgments, any ideas, concepts, and all these things, and it just is. We cannot relate to it other than that it just is the way it is. And in the past I used to have experiences where I tapped into that, but I always thought that that's an exception.
Yeah, same here.
I had moments in my life where I felt that way, and I always thought, oh wow, that's a special moment, but I had it completely wrong. That's who I truly am, and the rest of the time is made up by our thinking, by our ideas of things, and using our thinking as a like a filter system through which we see life. And when we take those filter systems away, when we take those glasses off, and suddenly we see clearly, and then we come to this beautiful place, and that's so amazing, because that's where we get all the inspiration, where creativity comes from, where compassion comes from, and gratefulness, and our own inner strength and resiliency. Where all the things come from that we always want. And we have them naturally. It's like little children have all the confidence.
Yeah.
Until they learn that they can't sing very well, or they don't dance good enough. But as long as they are small enough and without having this thinking, they just do naturally what occurs to them. And this is why they got this magnetism. We love watching little children because they're so much closer to that. They're radiating that so much more than us as in adult life.
Yeah.
But it's there for us, and Chris, you're a living example of it. And when I first met you the very first time, and there was just this feeling there. and you just live that, and you radiate it all along, and it's tangible.
Thank you. I don't feel it's me doing it really, but I'm very grateful for what you're saying. The funny thing about this is that may I come with one more metaphor? It might
go on then.
Some clarity. That was also yesterday. I had this insight that when you read a book, you read some fiction. Usually there'll be someone telling the story, and there'll be something going on, something emotional, something, what's going to happen to the person we're reading about. So we're reading this book, and then that's our thinking. So when we're reading this book, we can have all these feelings that the person in the book has. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's that's why our thinking is our feeling. Yeah. So everyone that's read a book must know this. That this is exciting, and God, I'll have to go to the next chapter, because this is really, is this person going to make it, or will they catch the murderer? So we're all the time doing this. We're just not realizing that we're creating it. But it's not the book creating it. So the author has written a book to give us an experience of a feeling. So we can travel all over the world. We can read a book from any culture, and we can have this kind of feeling and experience, even if we haven't been there. So that's nice. Books are wonderful. But the thing is that I just thought the other way around. Inside of me, I have this editor or reader. So while I'm reading this, I'm kind of, and I'm giving it life through consciousness, but I can get scared of what I'm reading, but I can also say, oh no, it's just a book.
Yeah.
So at the same, that means I can also step back and see there's just a story, and the same, really all of my life story is just a kind of, it's like a book I've written for myself with some with some summaries that Chris Nunan is like this and that, and he had this past, and his parents were like this, and his mother, and then there happened, all these stories, and I call that me. It's in, I can feel it, I can experience it internally, but what I really am is I'm a writer. Yeah.
Yes, it's a lovely metaphor. It's like pointing towards that we are creating the experience that we get to live in, and then it feels real. And as if we forget that we're writing a book all the time in our own heads.
Yeah.
It's going on simultaneously to us experiencing what we are creating. And then, yes, we could put down the book at any time and say, I don't like this book, or I'd rather have another one. And I'm free to create that.
It also gets very complicated, because I have to use my story, and you have to use your story of who yourself are, and then we have to communicate. It's pretty complicated, instead of just letting go of that thinking and just being there, just being raw in a good sense. It's actually we're just complicating. Most of the time we're complicating everything, because, and I guess the same with now. I had this sudden illness. I don't know what happened or exactly why it happened, but I'm so happy that it happened because I got to experience something else. I really needed to look at something else. And I feel the more I got into these new understandings of everything, it's much easier. That does not mean that I don't have ups and downs. That does not mean that I can have a bad day or be angry or pissed off, or sometimes I can feel like I'm doing no progress at all. It's just my thinking. I know, that's just my thinking. So my thinking has... So in a way I feel that I'm going more and more into this new way of looking at everything, inside out. And I can also have this voice in my head saying, Chris, this is ridiculous. You ought to be worried about this and that. You don't have enough money, or whatever. and I don't know how, because I don't understand it intellectually, but I feel that even that's okay. No, yeah, it's okay. And it's not like it's not laissez-faire. It's not like I'm not doing anything. I certainly am. I started going to yoga, and my body is, pretty stiff and big, and I don't know. I'm not a beautiful yoga ballerina, but I have this joy of doing it, and I just had this voice inside of me saying, it's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to be a beginner. Everyone has been a beginner at one time. So, so instead of having this judgment that, oh, am I doing it right? Is it going to be perfect? I don't look like a person going to yoga. I had this, it's okay to be a beginner, and I could just relax and be in it, and do the exercises the best I can, which is so nice. I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to. I feel like I'm being guided from the inside, and that's the beauty of the principles. In a way, it's like throwing the manual away, because you already know what's going to. It's something in me knows what's.
Yeah, the manual just being another book that we write ourselves.
Yeah, telling the story about what worked for someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, the manual, the manual we make up too, because we pick up things from somewhere and we think this is the way we should be, this is the way what we should do, what we have to do, know this, and then we try to live by those rules, and then we could beat ourselves up for not obeying by the rules, and oh my God, this is an endless story of living in a self-created bubble which we can see through. And I mean, we're all doing it, whether we know about it or not. That's another good thing, And we're all getting caught up in something. I did this morning, that looked really real, right? Until I sort of realized, what? I could actually look at that in a completely different way. Because what's happening outside is not actually what I get to feel.
Yeah.
How it feels to me is up to me, and it says instantly that mood shifted instantly by seeing it for what it is.
Yeah.
Until we don't see it, we get to live in it. But so what's the point in staying in the place if we know there's something there in the back of the mind? Hang on a minute, there was something there. Where does this experience come from?
Yeah.
Who's in charge here? And then we are back with the frog, Yeah. It's not the frog, it's the hand.
It's our own hand in the frog. Yeah?
Yes.
We're creating this illusion, and now we have to tell ourselves that it was actually an illusion. It's like, and it's really beautiful, because you don't have to use that much energy to live your life. It's like there's a much simpler way of doing everything. Yeah. So and that's very good for your health, because if your body has to use a lot of energy keeping up with your you're creating all this turmoil, and the amygdala or whatever is buzzing, and your blood is full of adrenaline and cortisol. Well, of course you'll have illness. Of course you'll be sick. It's like so the whole misunderstanding is also getting people sick. And I heard Bill Pettit in London. He said, well, just about everything all kinds of illnesses are really creating stress, innocent, misunderstood thinking. So that's what it is. And when we get out of this misunderstanding, the body actually knows how to do it.
Yes, and now knows how to recover. That's the magic,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, it does. Oh, hey, that's really been powerful.
Oh, same. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. We're going to be. I think this is going to be really helpful for people to, to hear your story and how how powerful that can be if we can just let go and fall back to nature and how nature already works within us. So I'm wondering whether.
Sorry.
I'm wondering whether you would like to share like some contact details, just in case people would like to have a chat with you. Would you mind sharing maybe your email address or something?
Yes, I will. It is. Do you want me to say it here? Can you write it?
Yes, please say it, and we're also going to write it into the information.
Okay. My email address is TC, like Timothy Christian, which is my original name, TC Nunan, NUNAN, at gmail.com.
Okay, yeah. That's perfect.
And I also want to say that it's very important and I also, because Bill Pettit also said that it's very important that you have to go. If you are ill, you don't. It might be something the doctor can help you with. It's not just I'm going to fix it myself kind. So you have to. It's not like innate health is kind of getting to know what's right for you. And sending in, and you get in the right direction, and then the magic starts happening. Whatever happens for you, it's different for us how it works, but it basically this innate intelligence does heal us,
and conventional and alternative medicine are part of that too.
Exactly.
And medications even are, and
yeah. So it's just because I think there's too much, people saying that you should, if it's spiritual, then you can't, I think you should do there's some kind of common sense to all of this, and it's very important. Grounding, yeah? Grounding.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the most important thing is that we listen to our inner voice all the time, except when we are caught up in our head, we don't hear that voice very well. But when we relax, we will do the right thing. And medicine, going to doctors, medication, and all these things are part of what we can fall back onto, because it all comes from the same source eventually. It just needs to be filtered through what's right for us in the moment. So yes. I'm grateful that you mentioned that, so that we got that clear here at the end. Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, so if people want to get hold of me, my website, you go through my website, is katjasymons.com, and that's www. and then katjasymons.com. And we are very happy to have a chat with people and see how we can help. All right. Well, thanks so much, Chris.
Take care.
Looking forward to seeing you soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
And take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.